Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the final video of this course, talking about how to evaluate a research article, right? So how do I know whether or not this is a research article that can be trusted? Well, of course, one of the ways is to be looking for articles that are in peer-reviewed journals. That's one of the reasons that we ask you to do that. We don't want you looking for something that's just in a regular magazine or some blog on the internet. Some of those can be valid and reliable, but it's much more difficult to tell. A peer-reviewed journal means that professionals in the field have carefully reviewed it to make sure that it's valid and trustworthy. Now, that doesn't ensure everything, but that's an important piece. But what are some other criteria to determine whether this is a study that that can be trusted? We want to make sure that we kind of help you understand some of those. So let's dive right in. You want to make sure that you are right off the bat looking for a really clear focus for the study. If it's vague or it's not clear what they're studying, you probably should be a little skeptical, because then the research is probably a fishing expedition and isn't really focused on a particular item. So the research must be clear in informing the reader of its aims. Terms should be clearly defined for the reader. There shouldn't be any guesswork there. You should pay particular attention to errors in logic as well. So first and foremost, kind of examine the purpose and focus of the research. Second, look at the sample, right? So often in research, we have to take a sample of the population we're interested in studying. So does that sample make sense based on their research question? So is it representative of the population that the research question is tailored for? And is it adequate in size, right? So a sample of 3 people that's, upper class, middle, white from a suburb would not be a really representative sample or adequate in size to examine a question that impacts Hispanic or African American children in a lower socioeconomic school district. So you want to make sure you're carefully taking a look at the sample. Next, you want to make sure that you're taking a look at something called control of confounding variables. So what does that mean? It means, are they trying to control for other potential causes of whatever the outcome of the experiment is? For example, if I'm interested in examining the impact of a new approach to teaching math on student achievement, am I making sure that the students are distributed equally amongst the different classes I'm looking at in terms of ability, in terms of ethnicity, in terms of males and females, in terms of socioeconomic background? Because I want to make sure that we don't have any other factors potentially impacting it. We want to make sure that all the other variables are evenly distributed amongst those groups, so that the only difference is the independent variable that I'm interested in studying. If they aren't evenly distributed, we call those variables confounding variables, because those are variables that could impact the results. So you always want to look for that. Number 4. Are the research designs appropriate for the questions that they're asking? We've talked a lot in this class, and you've seen in previous videos, right, that you want to be always considering what method you're using based on the research questions that you're asking. So be careful that there's a connection there, an alignment between the research question and the research methods, right? Is the data analysis appropriate for the research design and the questions that are being asked? We've talked about both of these issues as well. Appropriate statistical tests should be applied for the type of data obtained. So be careful to make sure that you're looking for appropriate methods. The limitations of the study should be mentioned in the discussion and conclusions. Every study has limitations, right? You can't answer everything in a single study. And the conclusions and discussions should be connected back to the research question that were being asked in the first place. If they aren't, you want to be skeptical. You can't go beyond the research questions that were being asked. And last but not least, we've got to make sure that ethical standards were met, right? Did we make sure that basic ethics of experimentation and research were met and we're not doing any harm? So the next time you're taking a look at a research article, keep these different pieces in front of you as you're assessing whether or not this is something that can be trusted. Once again, thank you, and hope you have a great day.